This is Adamantly Analog, episode 66. On this Labor Day, we're talking about Laborious games. Hello, and welcome to Adamantly Analog, episode 66, the only podcast that didn't think about what were the only podcasts to do before recording. I'm Corey.
Oh. And I'm Harrison. And oh boy, that's an early one to burn in this gag, isn't it?
Yeah, but we can say next time the only podcast to do that twice.
All right, got our new shtick.
Hey, how have you been?
You know what? I'm doing fantastic, Corey. Guess what?
What?
I got my gaming computer back, so I can play video games again. Hooray! No more board games for me. Time to do digitally analog. Wait,
All
nope, adamantly digital.
We had a good run, 66 episodes, and we're done.
Yep.
What happened to it? It just exploded on you?
Yeah, something with the motherboard and or the RAM or the CPU all just went on the fritz at the same time, and I think it ended up being the CPU, but that's because that's the last part we replaced, and then it worked again. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
You know what type of game is virtually impervious to all factors explosive? Board games. The CPU always works, and so long as they don't get drenched in water, fire, aggressive sunlight.
Well, yeah, that's what chip theory's for.
Yeah, there you go. Well, anyways, I think we should talk about those things. And specifically today, since it is Labor Day when this podcast is releasing, we're going to talk about laborious games, which I think is typically a topic that would be kind of a snoozer for most other genres. But for board games, I would be all over this one. I'd be like, tell me about those laborious games, because if you got to set up a game or read through a dense rule book for a long period of time, it's probably a good game, because I'm into the heavier games. Harrison, do you follow with me on this one, or does that scare you away?
It depends on the game. I was discussing Civolution with a game store owner earlier today, and she was like, "Yeah, it doesn't really have a theme." And I was like, "No, this theme for Civolution is Stefan Feld and dice."
Yeah.
So
it's the greatest hits of all of his mechanics.
right, yeah. If you're into that theme, then yes, this episode's for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not to say that these are like bad games, although I will complain about some things. But it's games. We just like talking about games, and they are still fun. So
Yeah. Well, if we didn't have anything to complain about, they wouldn't be on our list, because laborious is inherently a negative thing, but there's the silver lining being that it's worth the squeeze. So I'm excited to get there. But before we do, I want to just kind of cover recently played games, and I'm gonna just jump in with my first one, because I think it's kind of a topic that both of us can speak to. And I have not played any real games this past week, and I think it's the first episode that I can say that. And I'm sorry, I've been busy, but what I have been doing is I've been designing a game, and I say that because, Harrison, you also design plenty of games. This whole process has given me an appreciation for what goes into making a game. Even a game as simple as a simple card game, like I'm working on, takes a lot of effort, thought, play testing, balancing, math, probabilities. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I think the challenge for me was getting over that initial hump of like having an idea and formalizing it into something coherent. And once I got over that hump, it was like all downhill from there. I've been like full steam ahead, spending hours and hours in Photoshop. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself on that, but I enjoy it. And I made a solo mode so I can play test, and I've really been loving that.
yep, that is what I like most about the design process is the iteration and development process. I find it almost paralyzing to do an initial design because it's just so open-ended, but once you lock in that core and you really find the fun, and then you can just iterate and iterate, that's where I get my fun from.
Yeah, and I think it helps to have the notes app on your phone at the ready at all times. And anytime something pops into your head, you just got to jot it down. And maybe you synthesize all those ideas into something actually actionable later on. But I mean, some of these thoughts are so fleeting that it takes a lot of them to piece together for an actual good game. But
Oh yeah.
I was so afraid to get past that first stage and thinking I was gonna run out of steam, but I've actually been even more motivated to work on it as it's taken shape. So I'm really happy with what I've got so far. I won't talk too much about the game at this point. I think it's too early to do that, but just wanted to address the process because I think it's something that a lot of board gamers have considered or are trying to do. But man, it's hard.
Yep, yep. Yeah, your brain's gotta work in a certain way, and if it doesn't work that way, it's a lot to teach it how to do that too.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
I've got, like, 3 other folders of designs that just hit a dead end, and they're just probably gonna stay there forever.
Yep,
But, quick shout out to the Game Crafter, Madison business that will give you a really quality prototype experience. You can go on the Game Crafter, make an account, and just start adding components to your folders for a game, and, designing custom cards, playmats, boxes, all sorts of things, and so that's been really cool and a great way to do it. Um, really loving having actual real life components in my hand at this stage in the game.
for sure. Yeah, it's very satisfying, especially when you make the thing and you've been imagining it, and then you receive the final printed copy, and you're like, "Ooh, this feels shiny."
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, what have you been playing, Harrison?
Well, I got a chance to try a couple new games this week at my game night. First of which is a recent release, but a re-implementation. This is Ego from Bitewing Games. Stands for the Extraterrestrial Greeting Organization. This is a Reiner Knizia game that re-implements Beowulf the Legend. Um, so I was pitched this game as interacting with alien species and just trying to not embarrass yourself. Uh, which is a funny enough hook, and I think some of that theming is pretty pasted on, like, it doesn't really sit there, it's pretty abstract,
Yeah.
uh, but the Bitewing Games, if you're not familiar with these guys, they got a lot of, buzz this year for the Iliad and, the other Greek mythology-themed two-player game,
Oh,
yeah, Iliad and oh, Icor.
iCore, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So their production is just out of this world. It's super cool. Um, they do a great job with that. And it's Bitewing Games is two dentists. So that's where they get their name.
Oh, I never
Yep.
figured that out. That makes
Yep.
more sense. Okay.
Fun time. Yeah.
And
I met Nick Murray, one of the owners at Gen Con this year, so it was nice chatting with him.
also a
Uh,
podcast host. He does his own podcast
oh,
solo.
does
He's a
he?
yeah,
Oh,
Right Wing
okay.
Games podcast. I would recommend.
Well, anyway, so Ego, beautiful production. This is a Reiner Knizia game that focuses around these escalating bid wars. So you're moving this piece along a series of boards, and each board has several spaces on it. And one of the things that you do at some point on each of these spaces or each of these boards is a bid, and you're basically trying to stay in as long as you can by escalating the number of cards played or the number of symbols on cards played. If you can't
Mm.
escalate or you choose not to, then you bow out and you take the next lowest ranked chip, and then that determines the draft order of the rewards. And usually, the last reward is a penalty of some sort. Um, so you're basically just like kind of pushing to not be the first one out, and then usually it kind of goes downhill from there. Everyone else is like, okay, I fold, and I'll just take whatever I get.
Hmm.
And what you're doing is collecting various resources. There's money, there's points, there's these I think they call them alliance chips that can have different powers on them, and then there's cards, and all trying to work towards having the high score by the end of this sequence of boards. I don't, it feels just like a mishmash of different things. The way that I described the game is these bidding things that you only do that like 3 times during the course of the game,
Hmm.
so it feels weird that that's kind of the focus how you describe the game. The rest of it is just a handful of drafting mini games, maybe, but not even in the sense that Comic Hunters is. It's a weird thing, but again, the production is beautiful. The graphic design is wonderful. I think I would play it again now that I fully understand it. I crushed. I destroyed in it. I did very well, but I don't know why I did. So it's definitely cool and worth checking out.
It looks sweet. It's got this cool screen printed vibe to it, and there's icons everywhere. It is
Mm.
just a soup of icons.
Yeah. This was one of 3 games that came out at the same time as part of a single Kickstarter. It was, this, Orbit, another Reiner Knizia game. I think all 3 of them were maybe Reiner
Mhm.
Knizias, and
Silos.
Silos. Yep. Yep, exactly. Yeah, so, I think Silos and this one, Ego were re-implementations or remakes of something, and then Orbit was brand new, if I'm remembering correctly.
I'll confirm, but that sounds right.
That yeah. So, anyway, Reiner Knizia space games. I've now played 2 out of 3 of them, and pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Definitely worth checking out.
Confirmed. Orbit is brand new. Silos is a real implementation of Municipium. Municipium. Municipum.
Mun
Municippium. 2008.
Municcissi.
I was interested in this one. Looked cool. I am happy to hear it's neat. What do you say to the 7.3 rating it's got on Board Game Geek right now?
Deserved? I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I could see some people bouncing off of it and rating it lower and, bringing it down. And I could see this being a really, a highlight for people. Probably approaches the filler range for some people, but it's a little bit longer than that. So
Okay.
I can see a group that plays this regularly really getting into it. There's some setup variability that you can
Mm.
fiddle with too.
All right, cool. Well, let's move on to our feature topic. It's time to labor. We're going into labor. No?
Nope, nope,
Uh,
nope, nope, nope. Change that.
okay, so we're talking about laborious games for Labor Day, which is the holiday where you don't labor. So I would not recommend playing these games today if you are listening to this episode on Monday.
Or do it
Um,
because you're a workaholic.
or do it, yeah. Um, but the games are going to be ones that involve lots of setup, are maybe dense in rules complexity, just something that makes you feel tired to play. Maybe you're tired but satisfied. You'll enjoy the experience because games are great. But man, you have to have the right kind of setup, the right kind of amount of time. The weather's got to be on your side in order to even get these on the table in the first place. Um, but it looks like the person that is going to go first is the last person to take a vacation.
Yep.
The last person. Is that like most recently you took a vacation?
Yes, sure. That's probably a better way to say it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, when did you take a vacation?
Lauren and I both took a week off in the beginning of July. It was a
Ooh.
staycation.
Oh, vacation as in you took time off of work. Well, as of last week, I was on summer vacation, so I think that counts.
And there you go. I didn't think about that. I gotta think of all these exceptions when working with a teacher.
Yeah. I don't know if you count it as vacation, but
Well,
anyways, I'll
if
go
we can count my
first.
staycation as a vacation, we can certainly count your summer vacation.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's good because I'm excited to talk about this first game. I will start by stating that I love this game. So the fact that it is laborious doesn't detract from the experience aside from it requires a bit of extra time for the setup. That is Mosaic: A Story of Civilization 2022 from Forbidden Games. It is a Glenn Drover game. And Glenn Drover is kind of known for civilization esque games. He does a lot of civilization games, including Age of Empires. But Mosaic is, and people argue about this all the time. It is a Civ game, but it is kind of a Civ tableau builder action selection game. More specifically, I don't think it fits all of the traditional tropes of civilization. It's very non-confrontational in terms of combat, but there is a light combat element to it. But long story short, this is a big 1 to 7 player game that involves about 30 to 40 minutes of setup, and I'm not exaggerating that. Correction, 2 to 6 players. The board is a huge grid. It's a map of the Mediterranean, and every single space of that grid is going to need a face down resource tile placed on it. And more than half of those resource tiles, when you flip them face up after doing that, are going to be blank and you put them back in the box afterwards. So it's basically just randomly seeding the map with resources that you can collect, but you can't just decide where to put them because then it's not random, right? So it's got to have all those blank tiles in the box. On top of that, there's just a lot of other stuff going on. There's a whole bunch of little player pieces. If you've got the deluxe version, all these player pieces are little sculpted minis. It's a big setup. It takes a huge table, and there's a lot to do with it. But like I said, love the game, and it is worth it big time. A big complaint that I have, as well as many others that play this one, if you do play the cardboard version, no scoring track in the game, which is absolutely ludicrous given the amount of times you have to do scoring math and keep track of all of that. You actually have to supply your own notebook or use some
It's
phone app.
wild.
Yeah. And so I'd consider that to be pretty laborious too, because in order to play this game, I had to create my own spreadsheet for the damn thing. But
That's
again,
crazy. Yeah.
it's fun. It's actually pretty light. It's easy enough to get going. Actions are snappy. Like I mentioned, the combat is pretty polite, so that's a plus for me. I think my group would prefer that. And the ways that you play each game are so diverse, given the unique player powers that you choose at the start of the game and the types of engines you build with the cards. So there's a lot of replay value here, a lot of great interaction, and really good fun game. Mosaic.
When you describe a game as like combat light or something, that makes me think of the term Care Bear, right? To describe
Mhm.
a game that's pretty soft when it comes to player interaction, not allowed to take that. Uh,
Yeah.
I once heard, and I think I heard Rado refer to the opposite of Care Bear as War Dog. Uh, so I thought
Okay.
that was an interesting fact. So yeah, the opposite of Care Bear is War Dog, or Scare Bear. I think I like that more. But
Yeah. To elaborate on the Care Bear thing, it's really just stacking up soldier pieces on each space and comparing who has the most soldier pieces when scoring
oh, okay,
happens. There are ways to like remove some of your opposing ones, but they're few and far between. There's only a few cards that will actually do that. So yeah, Care Bear is a good descriptor.
yeah. All right. So my first game is one that I mean, out of this whole list of games that I'm looking at here, I like all of them. Well, except for one of them. And I assume I like Mosaic because I haven't played it yet. But the rest of them, anyway. That is to say, I don't want to be all negative on all these games.
Right.
And one that I really enjoyed, and I realize we haven't talked about it in a while, or at least I haven't specifically, is Terra Mystica. Um, this is like one of the go-to things that I think of for just a lot going on. Uh, Lots of little pieces to manage, a board to manage. I think the most tedious part is a tie between the double-sided terrain tiles that you don't know, like, oh, I'm looking for a red tile. It is on the back of this blue tile. Nope, it's on the back of this green tile. No, where are they? And if they had just done like a consistent red is always opposite green or blue is always opposite yellow or something, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it made it a lot easier to find these pieces. But you're just like sifting through tiles to try to find the one you need to terraform. Um, and then also the magic system, the mana management thing is, that's a through line in Terra Mystica and Gaia Project and Innovation. This like three pools of power that you have to cycle between. And that not only is just a little tedious to teach, but just to wrap your head around and plan through it is a
Yeah.
big part of the game.
It's obtuse.
Yeah, it's pretty obtuse, yeah. But once you learn it, it makes you feel real clever to like be able to plan ahead with just three little pools. So that's cool as well.
Mhm.
Terra Mystica, for those that haven't played it, this is a big area control game where you are a fantasy race, one of I think what 16 or 14 or something, and you are changing this map to be your favorite terrain, and then building buildings, and trying to score big points, all the while moving up different tracks, different schools of magic, trying to get points that way as well, and lots of little things to manage. Um, pretty heavy game.
Yeah, I think it's good to include a game on this list where you've played it many times and you still goof up rules because it's just that dense.
Right.
I have one on my list coming up later, and I considered Gaia Project or Terra Mystica because for the same reason, it doesn't matter how many times I've played it, I still goof something up, and I have to go back into the rule book.
Yep.
Arkham Horror comes to mind, but yeah, this is a great example of that because there's just these kind of weird and unique and so maybe niche is the right word, rules things, especially surrounding the magic and climbing the tracks and Guy Project takes it to a whole new level too. So I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's dense, but worth it. Good game.
Yep, well worth the squeeze, but I know what you're getting in for. When you sit down for Terra Mystica for sure.
Yeah.
All right, hit me with your number two. Wait, no, no, I shouldn't have said that.
Okay.
Let's hear your number two.
Okay. Yeah, my number two is Marvel Legendary, which is a 2012 game from Upper Deck Entertainment. I couldn't believe that it was 2012. That feels like it was just yesterday, but that is a long time ago now. This is one of my favorites of all time, and I still have my collection. I can't part with it. Marvel Legendary is a semi co op deck builder. I think some would just say it's full co op because there's an option to make it competitive on the very last round. It's sort of a bizarre rule where all of a sudden you turn against each other. But the gist of the game is that everyone is working together, building decks, drawing from the same offering row of cards, and trying to take down a villain, which is a stack of villain cards representing the Green Goblin or Magneto or something. And also, while keeping at bay the lesser villains, the henchmen, and the other villain sets that are shuffled into the deck. Deck builders tend to be games that are pretty quick to get off the ground, right? Usually just shuffle up and play. But this one, even with just the base game, involves a lot of modular setup where you choose your villain, you choose a henchman, you choose villain sets. You have to find, I think, 5 or 6 different hero sets depending on the number of players, shuffle them all together. And then at the end of the game, you have to sort through all this stuff. And it takes a minute to do. Um, it's also the best part of the game because being that it is the Marvel universe, there's so much to work with there. And people are usually drawn to this because of all the different characters they can play as and build. So that's great, right? But with a game like this that actually becomes a system, the legendary system, it has so much bloat now. There's so many expansions and add-on packs that don't always play well together that it's just become this big, boisterous, hulking, massive game on my shelf. And I'm very unlikely to actually get it out on the table for fear that I just randomly end up with a combination that doesn't gel well or doesn't even work well with the rules. So yeah, particularly, I have Marvel Legendary and Marvel Legendary Villains, which is really awkward when you are a villain fighting against a villain and you don't know what to believe anymore.
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you have to do the translation in your head of like, oh, wounds are called something else, and
Yes. Yeah, bindings.
heroes are called something else. Yeah, yeah. So that's it's a super cool thing, and I'm glad you brought this game up because I have such good memories of playing Marvel Legendary.
Mhm.
Back in my early years, 2012, 2013. Uh, but the prospect of getting it out today is well, it's impossible for me because I got rid of mine. Yeah, it's a good point. I think the gaming community in general just had a much higher tolerance for that sort of thing.
Mhm.
At least I did. And now that level of setup and teardown is looked as quite a detriment.
Yeah.
Although that being said, Citizens of the Spark can have a little bit of that teardown feeling because you still got to separate the decks out afterwards.
That's true, but it's all, there's dividers included in the main box. They all fit into the main box. I think if Citizens of the Spark
Yeah.
decides to go the legendary route, it certainly could because it is similar in that it's modular. You could add expansion after expansion. But I think
Well, we'll see.
I mean, they're still making legendary content, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah.
At least they have relatively recently. It's like not necessarily Marvel, but there's Aliens, Legendary, and X Files, and all sorts of different IPs being brought in, and
Yeah.
it's overwhelming. I haven't bought anything since probably 16 or something, 2015, and I still have a bunch of stuff that's just I could never get through it all.
I feel like Legendary is one of the first games to really hit on that, like, let's license it and combine with everything
Mhm.
things. Now Unmatched is really good at that. Dice Throne's good at that.
Yeah.
They're like, I mean, at least Dice Throne's just got Marvel and their own thing, but Unmatched in particular is good at doing that too.
Yeah. Yeah, but fun game, Marvel Legendary. If someone else has it and you want to play it, it's a good opportunity to experience what was 2012 in deck builders because it was definitely the highlight of that year for me.
I'd play it again, Corey.
All
If
right.
if you wanted to bring it out,
Okay.
I'd play it again.
Cool. All right, what's your second game?
All right. Well, my number two is a near and dear game to many many hearts and many people out there. It's the number four game on BGG right now as of recording, and that is Gloomhaven from Cephalofair Games.
Mm,
Gloomhaven being the absolutely monstrous in length and content campaign style game, dungeon crawler, with unforgiving combat. You, I mean, this is like the premier board gamer game. Yeah, it's the premium experience, and I think it's also probably like the poster child for tedious in a board game.
mhm,
There's just so much stuff in the box. It doesn't come with an organizer setup. It can be a nightmare trying to find the right tiles to make your map, and then trying to find the right decks of cards, and then once you get it all set up, then there's managing all the AI and the pieces and the enemies. There's keeping track of the elements, and there's nothing to like really catch you if you mess something up. Uh, which is probably more acceptable in a cooperative game like Gloomhaven.
mhm,
But at the same time, that can be really overwhelming for some folks. Uh, so that is I think it's a fair knock against Gloomhaven that we include it on a list of laborious games.
mhm.
Yeah.
The way they manage the damage on enemies on the board is kind of insane. They're they're like these little squares that you slide the enemy cards into, and those squares are divided into pie pieces. Each one is numbered to represent there's a bunch of the same kind of
Yeah.
enemy on the board. And so you're just stacking these little damage counters on these tiny little pie pieces. So if you knock them, every amount of tracking you've done in the game is just completely ruined.
Right, right. Not for just that one enemy, it's for all enemies.
Yeah, all of the same type. But
Yeah.
there's a thing called Gloomhaven Helper, which is a computer app you can get that is so much better. And you can
Yep.
you can leave all the enemy stuff in the box. You just turn on the Gloomhaven Helper, you load up the enemies. It will randomize the initiative order and things and even track your player health. It's much improved. And it's
Yeah.
free.
Yeah, I hear that one's pretty good. That is the only way that I've played it before. So I guess me complaining about Gloomhaven being laborious is a little bit disingenuous.
Oh wait. Gloomhaven Helper is no longer available. Oh. All
Ooh.
distribution of the app is now prohibited, including any modified versions of the app. Oh my gosh. All right. Well,
Oh boy.
all right, you'll have to do some research on that one if you're interested, but I'm sure there's something out there. Wow, why would they take that down? It only helps the game.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if they have their own thing that they're cooking up.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. A side note, or two side notes. One, I didn't know that there was a second edition of Gloomhaven out this year.
Yeah.
There's like a second printing with like streamlined. I use the word streamlined lightly.
Yeah.
It looks like generally it is the same game, implementing a lot of the lessons that they learned from design of that and Frosthaven. Um, but then also that Frosthaven has a video game version that is out or is coming out soon. That's apparently uh, quite a step up from the last Gloomhaven video game,
Oh, is
and
it?
people are saying that's very enjoyable.
Nice.
And I guess one of the common complaints of Frosthaven is that because there are so many more enemies, um, just doing the enemy turns can feel like that much more of a chore. But video game version takes care of that for you. So
Yeah.
uh, Frosthaven might be a good way to check out the series in general if you've not checked that out before. If you want to get the digital one.
Nice. Yeah, that's that in the, speaking of how boisterous this game is to handle, you can see why the video games are preferable in a lot of cases. Um I've had a good time with the first one. I'm looking forward to trying the second. I was waiting for the app to come out. Now it's here. Um, just a quick spoiler alert here, not from me, but if you were to go onto the Board Game Geek page and look at the images for Gloomhaven Second Edition, don't page too far in because there are about 19 boxes with sealed minis in the game, and someone thought it was wise to open all of them and pose them for a picture and post them on the
Oh
BGG.
boy.
So you've been warned. In fact, there's a lot of them just in the background of the game landing page too. So maybe stay away from that if you want to be surprised.
Yeah. Cool. So that is Gloomhaven from Cephalofair Games.
Nice. Okay, next up is my game that I play wrong every time I play it, despite playing. I have like over 20 log plays of this on BGG. Root. It's one of my favorites of all time. yet I still botch it. And it's just because it's so asymmetric, it is very difficult to teach new players and manage your own stuff. You can't really even approach this game by saying, okay, here are the core concepts and this is how they differ for you, because there's so many differences.
Yep.
It's like you really just have to read through the rule book yourself and read over your character board. And everyone just needs to commit maybe 5 to 10 minutes of complete silence so we can all focus on what that means so you can process it. Um, it's worth it though. Again, it's one of my favorite games. It is an area control game. It is rolling dice and knocking enemies off the map. So if that doesn't sound fun to you, you probably will not be happy playing Root. But it is pretty aggressive. Um, and in the base box, there's what, 5 different classes?
4.
4. We got the
Yeah, yeah.
vagabond, the birds, the cats, and the what am I missing? Oh,
Horse
the
people.
woodland alliance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And each of those classes has a different number of minis. They have different ways of acquiring points or different ways of acquiring cards and spending cards. It's a lot, right?
Yep.
But that's kind of the joy of Root. And that's the joy of a lot of these Cole Whirly games because they are so different. My first thought is always, how could it possibly be balanced? And overall, it is pretty balanced. They do a good job with the rules. I'll say that. There's a glossary included, and it's easy to look up all those weird corner cases that you think you might encounter.
I've only ever played this digitally, and I want to play it physically just to say that I have, but I don't know if I'll ever get there. We'll see.
Oh, really? Well, I have this
Yeah.
one. We should play this one together because
So you can botch up the rules.
well, yeah. I mean, I probably will, but it is different in person. I think the video game obscures a lot of the mechanics of it because
Mm.
it's so automated. Yeah, that is Root 2018 from Leader Games.
All right. So my final game is this is a gigantic game, and people who like it love it. I got a friend who's really into this game, and that's where I've played it because it is prohibitively expensive to get into, and that is Kingdom Death Monster, from the aptly named Kingdom Death. This is the only game they publish. I think the story is that the designer couldn't get anyone to publish it and appreciate his vision, Adam Poots, and so he just published it himself. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Hmm.
This is a another dark fantasy campaign style game with tactical battles where you're fighting against horrific dark monsters and grotesque things and stuff like that. Think Gloomhaven meets like Bloodborne or one of those like grim dark fantasy worlds. Um, and then you do a little bit of a story and a civilization building thing in between these combats, and then you go back into them. I picked this one for 2 reasons. One, it is one of those like tons and tons and tons of minis games that not only do you have to build and assemble and optionally paint these things, but then every time you do a scenario, you have to go fish out the correct miniature to bring it in, and there's that setup. Like, oh, I've got 4 boxes of Kingdom Death Monster. Which one is this baddie in? I've got to go find it.
Mm.
That's a little bit of a slowdown. You can optionally change your character mini. If you get a new item, you can go find the piece for that and then modify your character mini and like glue it together or snap it together, whatever you like.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah. No, it's pretty crazy. But I think the biggest tedious thing for me is just the moment to moment gameplay. Have you tried this before,
no,
Corey?
never.
Okay. So the way that combat works is, and this all works very, very well for the theme. I'll say it like design wise, it's a good hook, and that's why it's got such a popular fan base or avid fan base.
Hmm.
The combat is D10 based. You have to roll to hit like a D&D thing, but then you have to roll to see if your hit gets through the armor of the thing that you hit. So usually you have to roll like an 8 or 9 or a 10 on this die to hit.
Hmm.
And then you have to roll maybe a 9 or a 10 to get through its armor based on your weapon. And then if you're successful in that, then you draw a card from the deck to see what you hit. And sometimes that thing that you hit might just be like, oh, you hit a non-vital organ, nothing happened. You didn't deal damage. Like
Oh, that sounds obnoxious.
it it is just so punishing to actually play the game and do the thing. Um, but conversely, when you do get a good hit in and when the dice do align, it's so satisfying. You are you're basically dressed in rags with sticks fighting these giant horrific monsters that have like the multiple eyes and appendages, and the ground that you're walking upon is just bodies everywhere.
Hmm.
It's very graphic. Seriously, if you're ever considering getting into this game, go in with a fair content warning.
Mhm. Heard that.
The rule book slash storybook, it's the same thing. It's a hardbound book. It has some quite graphic illustrations in it. So all that being said, incredibly laborious game to play, but those that love it a lot. I mean, it's still in the top 100 on BGG, even though it came out in 2015. So their Gen Con booth is like the coolest thing ever. If you like cool, crazy minis, Kingdom Death Monster is the way to go.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't realize Kingdom Death was the publisher and Kingdom Death Monster was the game. When I first heard it, I was shocked and I was in a little bit of disbelief that there was a game called Kingdom Death Monster. It just sounded so ludicrous to me. It's almost like the name of a metal band or something. Um,
Yep.
it's just over the top, But I have since settled on that, and as I've heard it over and over again, and clearly it's got something going for it because, like you said, it's in the top 100. It's talked about to this day, despite being a release from what year? 2015.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're still making content for it. That's part of it too.
And they don't even need to because there's already like 300 pounds of stuff. It's like a
Yep.
bunch of boxes. So, yeah, one of these days I'll actually play it. But I have to say, I'm a little turned off by the whole combat system you just described. That sounds frustrating.
It is. It's very, very brutal. Yeah, what you do is often make a new character that is from your civilization, and I think there's some sort of meta progression that tracks like the number of fatalities you've had in your party.
Oh,
And once it hits a certain threshold, then you lose the campaign. But yeah, you are not expected to play the same character through the whole thing. You will probably die at some point.
oh, that's pretty cool though. Rogue Legacy
Yeah.
style.
I think that's a stretch of a comparison,
Okay.
but at a glance, yeah, I think it works.
Yeah.
The very first time we played this, I think it was a four-player game, and I think three of us died in the first
Oh
scenario.
man,
Yeah,
fun.
it is Kingdom Death Monster.
Nice. That is a laborious list. I think you would be physically ill after playing all of these games in succession.
Oh god, and it was I almost wanted to put Twilight Imperium on here, the game that takes 8 hours to play, but
Yeah.
I've never played it, so I didn't. I had plenty of other things to talk about.
Yeah. We kinda covered that one on the Worth the Wait episode with Shay Parker.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I feel like we've already done that, so it's okay.
Yeah, you can
Um,
go back and check that one out. That was a recent episode we had.
yeah.
What episode number was it? Episode 58, Worth the Wait with Shay Parker
Yeah.
from RTFM.
It's
So
about 6
if you want
weeks
to
ago.
hear a similar list of games that are quite heavy, but well worth the time and investment to learn how to play them and play them, go check out that episode.
Yeah, nice. All right, so to recap our list, we had Mosaic, A Story of Civilization, Marvel Legendary, Root, Terra Mystica, Gloomhaven, and Kingdom Death, Monster, to be specific. Yeah, real laborious. So probably not getting many of these played anytime soon, except when we play Root together next time we see each other. That's move to the top of the list, okay?
Okay, bring it this weekend.
All right, we'll do. All right, so let's talk about things we've been doing outside of board games, Harrison. I heard you got your computer back.
I did, yep, and I was so excited about it. I put it in the show notes because I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I rebuilt it last night, and I have been working all day, and I haven't gotten to play anything.
Oh,
So it's just sitting there taunting me, waiting for me to finish recording this episode.
okay, good. I was gonna ask you how it's been for your productivity, but I guess it's too soon to know.
Yeah, ask me next week.
Yeah. All right, will do. I drafted my fantasy football team this week, and I'm very pleased with the results. I earned a B from ESPN Fantasy, and I'm
Oh,
projected third in my league. I got a strong, I got to follow up to my last year's campaign. I won my league, and it was just by pure chance, which fantasy football often is. Just lots of injuries, either plaguing or benefiting you when they're on the opposing side. But I don't see why there's not more overlap with board gamers and fantasy football, because it's kind of like the gambling version of playing a board game on the computer. But it's definitely pretty far into the jock culture, and this is I find myself in the middle of the Venn diagram here, where I love board games so much, and I'm at every convention I can go to. But I'm also a football watcher, and there's plenty of people that can relate to both sides. And so, if you're into stats, data, and doing research on which players are likely to be the most productive for points, this is where it's at. But I've had fun with it, and happy to say I got Tucker Kraft on my team, which means I get a free box of Kraft macaroni and cheese from the grocery store.
oh, that's okay. Cool. Good for you. Congrats.
Yeah, I'll share it with you. We can split it half and
No, I'm good. I'm good.
half. Have you ever played fantasy football or any fantasy sport?
Uh, I played fantasy football a couple years in college when I lived with that big house of, like 8 or 10 people.
Yeah,
We had a league in the house. And I mostly just did it to be a part of it, but I still found it fun. I can see why there would be a lot of overlap between like the board gamer crowd. But I think that like, ooh, sports ball is a huge barrier for a lot of people.
yeah,
At least it is for me. Like
yeah.
I'm more interested in doing the fantasy thing, and if I did it again, I don't think I would ever watch a game.
Right.
So I would, yeah,
And you don't really have to. You can just see the trends and like read up on their
right,
injury news and stuff on the app. But yeah, but then it's like might as well do something else if you don't really care about football. So,
right, right.
but yeah, cool. Well, I'll let you guys know at the end of the season if I did anything close to last year, and I will say absolutely nothing if my team sucks. So you may or may not
Yep.
remember.
So you heard it here. If you don't hear about this again at the end of the season, it's because Corey sucked. He did not finish in his projected third.
Yeah. All right, cool. That wraps up another episode of Adamantly Analog. What do we got coming up next week, Harrison?
Next week we have something that I forgot to look at.
Oh, game and smell combos. Oh,
Oh,
yeah, that's gonna
can
be
you
something.
smell that?
I need to process what that means. So I'll
Oh,
be ready for
I
next
know
week.
what it means.
You want to elaborate?
Nope.
Okay.
You'll smell you later, Corey.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Adamantly Analog is Corey Murphy and Harrison Dunn. Original themes and bumper music by Corey Murphy. Reach us at adamantlyanalog@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.